Hi folks, quick video testing long lenses for wildlife photography today. I've got my trusty 200 to 500mm f5.6e VR lens, which I've had for a little while, and I've got this 300mm f2.8G VR version 2 lens, which I've just recently got second hand. So which one's better? Right, so this is my Nikon 200 to 500mm f5.6 zoom lens. I've had it for a few years now and I've got some absolutely fantastic images and video from it. It's only got a maximum aperture of f5.6. The autofocus is not particularly quick and it does suffer from being a bit front heavy when it's fully zoomed out. Look, it zooms really quite long at that point. However, it's pretty versatile being a zoom. And even though it's not the lightest lens, it's actually pretty portable. On the other hand, this is a Nikon 300mm f2.8 G lens, vibration reduction version 2. And this lens is quite a lot weightier, both in actual weight and also price, although they're not actually too bad second hand now, which is how I got this one. It's a prime lens. So it's fixed at 300mm, and as it's one of Nikon's flagship telephoto prime lenses, its autofocus is blazingly fast, its image quality is spectacular, and at f2.8 it can let in 4 times as much light as the 200 to 500. And that's really why you'd want a lens like this. It's for low light photography or fast action. Both lenses are weather sealed, and both lenses have vibration reduction, which works really very well. But the one thing I will say is that this guy, the 300mm, the vibration reduction is noticeably louder than that of the 200-500. So at native 300mm, this lens will literally wipe the floor with the 200 to 500. However, that's not really the point of testing these lenses today. It's pretty clear that for low light photography, this 300mm f2.8 is going to be the lens to use. And that's exactly why I've got it. Going to be in eastern Finland later on this summer, and we're hoping to see bears and maybe even wolves in the night there. And obviously I would love to take some pictures, some video. And of course, if I do, it will be coming onto YouTube and you'll be able to see that. But yeah, that's the dream. But this lens is clearly going to be the winner for that kind of scenario. But what about when I'm hiking up in the mountains looking for mountain hares or ptarmigan? Is it going to be worth carrying this big lens with the extra weight and using teleconverters, like the 1.4 times teleconverter to get 420mm at f4, or a 2 times teleconverter to get 600mm f5.6, with all the kind of faff that involves, the time it takes to change the teleconverter in, which obviously gives opportunity for the wildlife subject to be long gone, and also of course the opportunities for dust and crap to get into the lenses and into the sensor while I'm changing in the field. So let's do some testing. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to get help from my little buddy here. If you haven't watched my video from camping in the woods with the beavers in the west of Scotland, you should do so. I'll put a card up. I thought that this little guy could help me with the testing today. He's obviously not a real one, but I'm going to guess he's a little bit more reliable for lens testing, because he's going to stay exactly where I put him. Aren't you? Yeah? For these tests, I'm going to be mounting the lenses on my Nikon Z7, and I'm going to have that in manual mode with a fixed shutter speed for each type of test and auto ISO, and then I'll be changing the aperture. I'm focusing with a single autofocus point on the eye of the beaver, and I've got a wireless shutter release so that I don't cause any extra shake when I'm actually taking the images. The lens vibration reduction is turned on because that's the likely situation when I'm out using these lenses, though for the low light tests I'll turn the vibration reduction off. I've got the gimbal head on my tripod and I'm using a leveling base with that to make sure the gimbal is actually level. That actually makes a really big difference to the usability of the gimbal head, because it means that the camera will always be level as you pan without having to rotate the lens collar. The images won't be post-processed in any way, and in fact I'll take them into Lightroom and strip out any sharpening and noise reduction that's been set in camera. So let's do some testing. So that's the testing done. At 300mm, absolutely as expected, the 300mm f2.8 lens is absolutely stellar. And yeah, the image quality is clearly better than that of the 200 to 500mm. But that's not to say that the 200 to 500mm doesn't perform very, very well indeed. It's just that this is a stunning lens. In good light, the autofocus of the 300mm f2.8 is noticeably faster than that of the 200 to 500, but actually in low light situations they're about the same. With the Nikon TC14e version 3 teleconverter, the situation is still that it has the edge over the 200 to 500. Autofocus speed is about the same in normal light, and actually once we get into low light situations it starts to be a little bit slower than the 200 to 500. So with the Nikon TC20e version 3 teleconverter on the 300 2.8 we get a 600mm f5.6 lens, and that's where this test starts to actually get really interesting. Based on these tests, the 300 with the teleconverter to make it a 600 5.6 does give slightly sharper, crisper images than the 200 to 500 zoomed out to 500mm. It also has the extra 100mm of reach, which isn't dramatic, but in wildlife photography every bit of reach can be worth having because the subjects are often quite far away, or you want to be able to be further away from the subject in order to not cause disturbance. Both are pretty good in the sort of corners and edges, although they're a little soft at f5.6, but then both kind of improve a similar degree when you stop down to f8. But, and this is a pretty important point, the autofocus speed of the 300 2.8 with the 2x teleconverter on it is really slow. It's slower than the 200 to 500 at 500mm, and that's quite significant. So yeah, because of this autofocus speed issue, I don't think there's a clear winner to this test. For kind of trips where I'm sort of doing opportunistic wildlife photography and walking about, I think actually the 200 to 500 is the way to go because it's lighter, it's more versatile being a zoom, and the image quality is still pretty good. If I'm going to be in a hide or in low light, or I have subject that I know is going to kind of stay put long enough for me to sort the focus out, then the 300mm 2.8 and a pocket full of teleconverters is going to be the way to go. With the 1.4 times teleconverter, that's actually really good. So if I don't mind only having 420mm, then this is clearly the winner. When it comes to the 2 times teleconverter, unlike my 70 to 200, which I've done a video actually testing with the 2 times teleconverter, there's a card up there. Unlike that, this guy actually really suffers in terms of autofocus speed with that converter. And so in order to use that, I'd have to really have subjects that aren't running about and moving too much. So am I going to keep the 200 to 500 lens? Well, for now, I certainly am, yes. But what I really want to get my paws on is one of these. This is the Nikon 500mm f5.6 phase Fresnel lens. And you can see a really cool comparison video between the 200 to 500 and this guy. If you watch the video I'm going to put a card up for now, it's by a guy called Rob Blight. And he's been using one of these for a few months now. And it looks to be a superb, lightweight, portable 500mm option. So yeah, having one of those and the option of the 300mm for really low light, that would be the absolute dream. Right, so I've probably gone on for more than long enough about these lenses now. I hope this was actually useful or interesting to someone. I was certainly surprised by how big a hit there was on the autofocus speed with the 300mm and the 2 times teleconverter. I actually went into this testing thinking that in all 3 situations with the different teleconverters and without, the 300mm was just going to win. But that's not as clear cut as that. I'll finish the video now with a few pictures I've taken with the 300mm with and without teleconverters over the couple of weeks that I've owned it. If you enjoyed this video or it's been useful to you, please like, share and leave a comment down below. You could also leave a comment if you've got real-world experience with these lenses or with the teleconverters. And yeah, if you enjoy what I'm doing with this YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. See you next time.